We're happy you're with us here for the Retirement Education Hour. Hi, everyone. Megan Mozak back in this studio with our financial instructors, Kirk Cassidy and Dr. Paul Metler. As you know, Kirk and Paul, they're with the Retirement Education Foundation, and the foundation makes it their mission to help you get educated about all things retirement planning and all things related to building your confidence around this next phase of life. There's a lot to take in, a lot to understand, and we dive into those topics each and every day here on the show. Throughout our program, you're going to be hearing about opportunities to get registered for the foundation's courses. These are like master's level courses. They're held at major colleges and universities right in your community. So be listening, be watching for that. But I want to dive into today's topic at hand. And I love this topic. I love the name of our show today, Kirk and Paul, Take Back Your Retirement. And this is really about investing in your future. And there's something that feels like just actionable about this. And it feels like I've got some options here to be in control. So to kick things off, Kirk and Paul, what's one of the first things we should be thinking about when it comes to taking back our retirement?
Well, I think, and I may ask if we can throw a little curveball in the first segment here, a little bit of a curveball to give a little bit more background about the charity and what the show's about and what the charity does. But I think the message you're going to hear from us today is a little different than what you historically hear when you listen to different radio shows or different TV shows around the country, or going to dinner seminars, or when you're going in to meet with your advisors. Our message isn't going to be about any simple planning strategy or simple solution or simple product that's going to give you your taking back your future. It's really going to be around getting the right type of education, information, so that you can be empowered to find the right people to help you. Because everybody is really saying the same thing now. Like, we are a national charity. We've taught tens of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people have been listening to our radios, our podcasts, our TV shows. We produce all kinds of content, webinars, white papers, all specifically around, to date, until recently, all specifically around retirement. And what we're finding is half of the people downloading our content on the charity's websites is people in our industry, the financial service industry, learning what we're teaching the communities around our country about how to have the best possible retirement. And the problem with that is, now when you Google something or you do research on something or you're listening or following somebody and you're getting information and going out to get help, you're hearing them say the things that they should be saying. But what they are executing and doing most of the time, I'm being honest, what we found, our industry is not great. And most of the time, they are not executing what they're saying they're doing. They are either manipulating or using things inaccurately, creating a perception that isn't always reality, and you are not educated and informed enough from a third-party, unbiased source for you to know whether someone is really providing the services they suggest that they're providing. And that is the entire intention of our radio show and our 8-hour classes that we've been teaching in universities and partnered with universities and colleges, both in Michigan, now in Missouri, and we're going across the country with this. And it's an 8-hour, almost master's level course just to give you the information to know when you're meeting with your teams or trying to hire a team, are they really providing the services they say they're doing, or are they just giving you the talking points? Like, everyone's talking about Roth converting. Everyone's now talking about sequence of returns risk. Everyone's talking about maximizing Social Security, and they've got some special software to help you maximize. And the next 10 callers are going to get a free roadmap to retirement. Blah, 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 blah. It's all nonsense. You guys aren't informed enough. You need to start by coming to an educational course so that in 8 hours, in depth, especially $1 to $20 million households. So we teach these in 2 evenings or 1 full Saturday. All we ask is to make a $29 donation to charity to attend. You can stream these from wherever you're at in the country or come in person at the universities. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org.
You know, Kirk, we've had the fortune, the blessing to have met a lot of people who've attended our class. And And thinking about the show today, the one thing that I thought about was that there seems to be this sort of common thread, this theme that I know you've heard from the people that attend the class. And the theme seems to be that too many people sort of have been approaching their retirement passively. Like too many people are passively sort of going into retirement with a hope and prayer. They have a few different investments. Maybe they're a little more conservative. But, we've met people who are, in their 70s and 80s who've said, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, why didn't anyone tell me to get educated long ago before I did this? And it's because it's not out there. It's hard to find what we do in this class. But this theme that people sort of go into retirement sort of, and I'm not trying to be critical, but just sort of in this sort of passive, approach, it doesn't work. You have to aggressively attack this retirement like you do other things in your life. This is a key part of your life. It's a key phase, and you got to get it right. There's no do-overs, and it starts with education.
And Paul, I think a lot of people, when you say that, I think a lot of people, so you are right. There's a lot of people that kind of go through this passively. Fortunately, what we're seeing in our classes now around the country at the different universities and colleges is that there are more people in their 50s and 60s. We're seeing more younger people, which is, within 10 years of retirement is when you really need to start focusing on this. But I'm afraid, I know, that people, their source to get educated is Google. Their source to get educated is a TV show or a radio show, just like our radio show. The difference is we're a charity. We're not promoting or selling anything. We're a national charity that teaches people within 10 years of retirement through retirement, and then we do financial literacy for high school students, which maybe we'll talk about. Maybe even today we'll bring up some of the stuff we're doing in high schools now around Michigan and hopefully soon in Missouri. We've partnered with some national people, and it's incredible some of the stuff we're doing. But my fear is I don't want people to take away from this show. I'll Google, I'll do a little research. No, you have to dive deep. $1 to $20 million families, you CEOs, CFOs, doctors, physicians, engineers, executives, just need to spend 8 hours, 2 4-hour evenings, or 1 full Saturday. I know it sounds like a light, but it will change your retirement. Stick around for the show, and we'll tell you more how it's going to change your retirement. So if you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Thanks for listening to the Retirement Education Hour. Be sure to follow or subscribe when listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now, back to the show.
We've been talking about taking back your retirement. And Kirk and Paul, you say that it starts with education. And I want to continue that conversation with you. What else should we keep in mind?
Well, I think, it's difficult as we come on the radio every week for I don't know how many years now on a lot of different stations. We tend to make life a little more difficult for people in the financial service industry. I know a lot of people in our business depend on generating their leads in their business from dinner seminars. So I think what we want to make clear is you've got to find somebody that is providing. First of all, in an hour's time, you are not going to get the answers to know how to choose the right team to hire to manage your wealth through your 25, 30 years of retirement. Understand, retirement isn't about it's not what you invest in that's going to drive your success. I know many of you think that because for many of you, that's the thing that's helped you get to where you've gotten is what you've invested in, and being disciplined savers let you get here. But once you start taking income and you have different types of income and you've got to make lots of different decisions, you can use the conventional ways of doing things that you will be promoted at dinner seminars where people are selling you annuities, selling you guaranteed income streams for life, talking about safe money strategies on the radio, talking about the next 10 callers will get a free Social Security analyzer, or the next 10 people call, or only for people watching today can get a free Roth conversion analysis. That is garbage. Stop looking at things compartmentalized. You really need to go to what the charity is providing. It's 8 hours of almost master's level information, so that when you go to find your teams, when you go to look for a team or have a team or hire a team, you know if the different things that should be associated with your retirement plan are actually being done. Right now, I promise you, if you $1 to $20 million, very smart, highly educated, sophisticated investors comes to this class, it will change your retirement. It will change it for sure. It's going to change it because of the knowledge you're going to learn, and you will not get taken advantage of like you have. Most people are getting taken advantage of. And the outcomes will be, Paul, through this education, you will find the teams that are going to make you feel much more confident in being able to retire. You're going to know, I can retire on day X. You will know what you need to give you the retirement you want. All of your risks, all of the investments, all the Social Securities, the pensions, every decision will be driven not based upon your feelings, your advisor's feelings. It'll be driven by a plan that someone will have constructed and spent 40, 50 hours running iterations to find the most efficient from a tax perspective, from a risk mitigation perspective, from a healthcare, long-term care perspective. You'll have more income in retirement, you'll retire sooner, you'll pay less taxes, and you'll have much less anxiety over elections or every time we have a short-term market event. This education is going to empower you to be able to find the right teams to get you those things. We've done it over 10,000 times. We are changing people's lives through our education at the charity. Paul, how much more can we stress the importance that they have to invest in their education before they buy something? Stop buying stuff.
You know, you mentioned dinner seminars. I think there's two sources people go to nowadays typically to get their, quote, information on retirement. They either go to dinner seminars, and everybody knows intuitively that's a waste of time. Here's the second source, right? People Google, right? Let's just say Google is not a legitimate tool for education. It may be legitimate for information, but not legitimate for education and knowledge. There is a difference between getting information and becoming knowledgeable. How many times, Kirk, have we met people who say, yeah, but I Googled this. Listen, Google's useless when it comes to getting educated. People don't go to Google when they want to get their MBA or their PhD, right? Or become doctors. Google is not a legitimate source for education. Wow. Come to an 8-hour course. Our class will educate you and tell you and teach you what you need to know to plan for retirement.
Wow, Paul, you actually blew me away. That was so good. The difference between information and education and how Google plays the role, or social media or internet or ads, you nailed it. And we're not downplaying. Listen, it's awesome that at our fingertips we can research anything we want. But I don't think based upon Google, you're choosing the neurosurgeon to do brain surgery on you. I know you're not. You're going to go interview. You're going to do tons of education, and you're going to make sure you're choosing a neurosurgeon that's done it thousands of times, that you're 100% comfortable with. But yet, when it comes to their money, they lean on Google, TV, and radio to make these decisions. It's crazy. Come to an 8-hour course. We beg you. And we do. We beg you so much that we're going to ask you to make a $29 donation to charity to attend. It's not free. You got to make a donation, $29. It's not much. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Listening from outside Michigan or Missouri? We stream courses live from the university so you can attend anywhere in the country. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org to sign up. And now back to the show.
Talking today about taking back your retirement. Doesn't that sound awesome? It really shows us we're in control, Kirk and Paul. And I want to shift things here just a bit in our conversation to talk about how do we find the right help? How do we go about identifying who to work with in this endeavor?
Well, a big part of, I shouldn't say a big part, it's a section. It's in the 8-hour, almost master's level courses that we are teaching at these major universities and colleges, we're, by the way, also streaming them from these courses from the university. So wherever you're at in the country, where you're hearing our podcasts, radio shows, TV shows, people participate from all over the country. The information is incredibly helpful for you to be able to have a better retirement. 8 hours of master's level information and a 200-page textbook. Now, the last section that we cover in our course, the last section, and it's a pretty significant section, and it's also a big significant section in the 200-page textbook, is how do you choose your team? How do you choose your advisors, your CPAs, your attorneys? How do you choose your team? What specifically should you be looking for? And so some of the things we talk about is how do you really do a background check? And what does it mean if you find somebody on BrokerCheck versus SEC.gov advisor search? Be looking for disclosures or non-disclosures, regulatory issues, non-regulatory issues, historical, if they're fiduciaries, if they have whatever they've done in their career so that you have a background of what their knowledge base is, if they've had bankruptcies. People might be shocked to know that almost 40% of people in the financial service industry will file bankruptcy in their careers. So we help you do the background check, and then we're going to teach you how people get paid, all the different ways and the way they different sneaky ways that our industry sometimes create perceptions versus what is reality. So we're trying to give you sort of behind the scenes information. So you do background checks, you know how they get paid, and then we literally will give you specific questions that you should be asking to identify whether or not are they predominantly insurance salespeople? Do they sell 80+% of what they sell? Safe money people? That's red alert. Someone says safe money. They're insurance salespeople. Most people doing dinner seminars are insurance salespeople. Most people on radio and TV are insurance salespeople. We're going to give you the tools to know, are they really securities licensed, and are they really selling securities, managing money in the markets, really building retirement plans, or are they predominantly selling just insurance? So we're going to give you the specific questions to ask to try to overcome some of the manipulation and word games that people in the financial service industry try to use. And I think the most important part, Paul, and I'll pass it to you after this, and we'll probably talk about this in the last section again. What is a retirement plan? What should be included? What should it look like? The different accounts that you should have to navigate different market conditions, where you should be taking your income from, when you should be taking your income, what tax planning should look like for a 25-year retirement, like a whole plan mapped out so you know the levers that should be pulled, when they should be pulled. Not so that you can build the plan yourselves, because as you age, it's going to be difficult to do this effectively. But so you can find the right teams that it's going to allow you. You can have 6, 7, 8% withdrawal rates. You can have that if you find the right teams. Your challenge is the less you spend and the longer you work, the more the people that are helping you in the financial service industry, the more they make. They have no incentive to teach you to retire sooner or spend more money, because the more you spend, the less they make. Paul, that's why interviewing your team and understanding how to do that is so important, Paul.
It is. I have two quick thoughts. Megan, I love Megan. Sometimes you've used this term. You'll say, retirement planning is not a DIY project, right? You've used that phrase. I love that phrase because I think there are people who really believe that this is something they can do. Like they do something in their house, they repair something in their garage, they think they can do this. Retirement planning is not a DIY project. This is not something you're going to be able to do yourself. You can maybe figure out how to put money into an investment, but in terms of retirement planning, this is not something you can do. So the key is you have to find the right team. And I just want to say, while credentials are important, finding someone who has the right credentials is key. Credentials is not enough, right? There are a lot of people who have a lot of letters after their name and aren't necessarily looking for your best interest. They're not necessarily fiduciaries making sure you're getting the best. So you can't just go by credentials. You got to learn all the things that we talk about in the class. Most importantly, as you said, Kirk, you want to see an example of a plan. And what's great about the class is we show you what that plan looks like, and then you go out and look for it.
You know what I love about that, Paul? Of all people talking about credentials, the person with a lot of credentials. So I mean, I trust that person when they say it's not just credentials. Paul has his PsyD, his MBA, you're certified divorce analyst. You went to University of Michigan. You did your fellowship at Northwestern. You got more credentials than most people in the financial service industry. I can promise you that. We have CFPs, CFAs, all part of the charity that's contributing to this course and the information. It's not just the credentials. They got to actually utilize them and build you a plan. And that's what we're going to teach you to find out when you're interviewing your teams if they're really providing the services they should be and you think they are. Come to register, make a $29 donation to charity at retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
Classes are forming now. Go to retirementplanningedu.org to register. Again, that's retirementplanningedu.org. Use the promo code PODCAST to receive 50% off your tuition. And now, back to the show.
We've been taking back our retirement today on this show. That's the emphasis. We're giving you actionable ways that you can do that to feel more in control and to take control of that financial future of yours. And one of the things we have to examine is taxes, because really at the end of the day, Kirk and Paul, when we are tax efficient, when we've got that long-term plan for taxes, this gives us more spending power, right?
Yes. I mean, for sure. That's obvious, right? The less you spend paying taxes, the more you get to spend to enjoy life, and or the longer your money will last before you run out, and or it'll allow you to retire earlier. But to be able to understand, it's one thing to do tax planning, right? I mean, listen to every radio show, TV show, every blog. Everyone's talking about tax strategies in retirement. It's the new buzz. And again, this is why we're going to tell you, you need to come to the 8-hour class, because we're literally going to go through some tax codes, show you the pockets, the windows. I think the sample plan that's on the charity's website that we literally teach around shows, I'm guesstimating because I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like $5.6 million of cash flow in retirement, and they pay a total of $140,000 in taxes or something. It's really, you can take money out of your IRAs and your 401ks and not pay taxes on them. I know people are going to be like, no, you can't. I'm telling you, you come to the class, we're going to teach you. You can earn dividends and recognize capital gains and not pay taxes on them. It's about the pockets, the brackets, the windows, the opportunities to recognize gains, to have dividends. How much money should I Roth convert or not Roth convert? Not based upon this year or next year or the next 5 years, but to properly do tax planning and to understand the implications of that on your 25-year retirement. Someone needs to be doing tax projections for 25 years for you based upon mapping out a plan for 25 years. And once they do that with no planning, they just project it out for 25 years, someone then has to work backwards. Your team needs to work backwards, running hundreds of iterations, modeling, taking different dollars at different times, taking Social Security, pensions, lump sums, money out of IRAs, money out of your non-IRAs, out of your Roths, and combining them and taking them at the most efficient times over a 25-year retirement to see what your total estimated tax bills will look like. From there, you can work backwards to see, hey, can I retire earlier? Hey, can I spend more money when I first retire? Hey, how long will my money last before I outlive it? Without that analysis being done properly, not the next 10 callers, I'll do a Roth conversion analysis for you. This takes time. This takes expertise. This takes CPAs being involved, CFPs being involved, doing this analysis. Without that analysis, people are just pretending to be doing tax strategies. They're doing little things around the edges, maybe to save you a few dollars here, a few dollars there. But if you really want the power of tax planning in retirement, you got to start by understanding what you need to be looking for and the teams you should be looking for and what specific things should look like to know if the people you're hiring that claim they're doing these things are really doing them or not. That's all we're trying to do at the charity, is to teach you how to find the right teams. That's it. Paul, what'd I miss?
Well, no, I think there's a reason why taxes would be, such a hot topic, besides the fact that I think there are a lot of advisors who think it sells. I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of anxiety about future taxes for good reason, right? I mean, I think we all probably agree taxes are going to go up in the future. And there's a lot of people out there sitting on this tax time bomb, right? I mean, all of those 401ks, IRAs, most people have saved their money in qualified accounts. And at some point, the government's going to say, you have to start taking distributions from them, and they're going to be taxed. And if tax rates go up, I mean, this whole show is about taking back your retirement, putting yourself in the position of power. But at 73 or age 75, all of you will have to start taking these distributions, whether you want to or not. So legitimate tax planning is all about taking back your retirement, because if taxes go up in the future significantly, it will have a big impact and you have no control over it. So there is a reason why it's a hot topic, but you're absolutely right. Most people that are talking about tax, planning aren't really doing deep dive tax planning. They're going around the edges. Come to the class. There's a whole section on this, and it's very
We spent
powerful.
2 hours on it, plus hours just on this. Maybe even longer, maybe up to 3 hours on this. Paul, you said a couple of things that are really important. I mean, you were invoking fear, and you can take back control of how much you're going to be forced to take when you're older, your R&Ds. But you got to plan now, like your 50s and 60s and early 70s. You got to do that now. You don't wait. You do it now. And the problem is the fear is real. So you all get convinced. You're all convinced when someone says, I'm doing tax planning, and you're excited, and they sell you things based on they sell you annuities because it increases for inflation or it has tax deferral, all this nonsense. And you're buying individual solutions instead of knowing what a holistic, real comprehensive solution should look like. That's what the 8-hour class taught over 2 evenings, 4 hours each evening, or one full 8 hours taught at major universities and colleges in your area and streamed live from the university. So wherever you're at in the country, you can participate live in the class, ask questions, be a part of it. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. To find our latest white papers and webinars, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. And remember to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now back to the show.
Talking today about taking back your retirement and some action items for you. I want to discuss a question I know comes up. People say, well, how do I know how much I can actually spend in retirement? Because Kirk and Paul, I have all these things I want to do.
Megan, it's being so exposed out in the public right now as a charity. We're everywhere, right? Now, the problem is that depending on the medium you're going to, the message is going to be around either high school financial literacy or retirement planning predominantly. And so they're either or, one or the other. So everyone that we get interesting comments, a lot of favorable comments, a lot of people who don't like some of the things we're saying, they get mad. And I think this is the area that we tend to poke the bear a little bit, right? Because most people just go along for the ride and assume that the 4% rule for income planning is just the rule. It's what all the online calculators since 1994, when William Bengen invented this rule, the 4% rule, the financial industry has fully adopted it and spent, literally billions of dollars marketing and promoting this cookie cutter, one size fits all solutions for people because they had some software that could back test it and prove that it worked. And when we come on the air and say, no, be down with the 4% rule. That's crazy. You don't need it. You can actually have, if you find the right teams, you can have 6, 7, 8, maybe 9% withdrawal rates. I'm not saying growth rates. I'm saying withdrawal rates without living your income. Bulletproof with long-term care safety nets, protections galore. But you got to find the right teams. And that's the purpose of our class. So when we say this, people assume we're trying to sell. We're not selling anything. What we're selling is come to an 8-hour educational master's level course so we can help you find the right teams so you can have these things. You don't have to listen to us. Go ahead and live on the 4. Do it yourselves. You can do it yourselves, and you're going to have to live on 4%. If you find the right teams, you can have 6, 7, 8% withdrawal rates. And if you find the right teams, what you're going to learn is The whole goal at this point in your lives is to figure out, do I have what I need to give me what I want in retirement? Do I have what I need to give me what I want in retirement? If I have what I need to give me what I want in retirement, then I would say what Warren Buffett says. You have to be insane to risk what you have for something you don't need. In other words, everything from this point forward, if you're within 5 to 10 years of retirement through retirement, should be driven on what you need to give you what you want. The plan, a plan, spent 50 hours mapping out the most efficient path for your retirement should dictate what you're investing in. It should tell you how much income you can have. It should do risk mitigation, have risk stress tests and risk mitigation levers to pull to make sure that you're not overexposing yourself to the chances of outliving your money or outliving your income if you're vulnerable anywhere. But if you find the right teams, you can have, in many cases, in your early to mid 60s, 7-8% withdrawal rates. If people would listen to us and come to the class so we can show you how to find those teams and how it works, and you can believe in how this works. It's all about managing something called sequence of returns risk. It's all about having different risk accounts of each one of your different types of money, your IRAs, your non-IRAs. You got to have the dollars you're spending now, the dollars you're spending in 5 to 10 years, and the dollars you're not spending for 10 years plus. You're going to be very aggressively invested with some of the money. You're going to be very conservative and defensive with some of the money. You might ladder some muni bonds or treasury bonds in some of them. Every plan is unique. And as long as you can manage where you take your income from when we have volatile markets, which you're going to have 3 to 6 major market events throughout your retirement. As long as you do that, you're going to be able to have 7-8% withdrawal rates. So I know Paul probably wanted to take this a little different direction because, Paul, we're educators, and I know you're fearful of people underestimating what they think they need in retirement, right? Am I right? I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, one of my big concerns is people underspending, at least for our listeners, rather than overspending. And the reason why that's a concern, I guess, and maybe this is personal, I guess I've become, as I've aged and I've become more mindful of how short life is. Or I've become more mindful that you really only get one shot at this. And I've met so many people who aren't really enjoying their retirement because they're so filled with anxiety and fear that they're not spending. And then when they finally realize it's too late, they can't do the things, they're too old. And so I guess I feel personally like it's just so sad. I hate to see that. So listen, not everybody has good fortune. Not everybody is in this position, but there are a lot of listeners who are underspending, not overspending. And you want to really grab this and get the best you can get. And that's a concern I have.
Paul, I would say confidently after teaching tens of thousands of people, literally all having somewhere between $500,000 and $30 million, all very educated professionals, I can very confidently say the majority of people that retire with $1 to $20 million will way underspend what they otherwise should be spending because of fear that the financial service industry has promoted and created in you. The 4% rule, the protect your principal. It's all the fear of outliving your money, and the less you spend, the more they make. So there is no incentive to take that fear away. That's what our class is for, is to help you understand what you can have, you should have, and what you should be looking for. Come to one of our 8-hour classes. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Thanks for listening to the Retirement Education Hour. Be sure to follow or subscribe when listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now back to the show.
And on our show today, we've been focused on taking back your retirement. What does that mean and what can you do? And Kirk and Paul, you've been giving us some great tips and insights into this. And it really does always come back to the central and primary focus that you have, which is about planning. Tell us how that works into today's topic.
Well, I think now, Paul and Megan, we have been doing, the charity has been doing this radio show for maybe not on every station currently people are listening to us on, but on a station or some stations for over a decade. And it was a number of years ago when we had decided that the last segment of all of our radio shows should be focused on the answer to all of retirement's questions around finances should be driven by, they're not, unfortunately, but they should be driven by a plan, a true comprehensive retirement plan. And when we say that, what we've learned over a decade in teaching tens of thousands in person and then hundreds of thousands over the airwaves and TVs, what we've learned is people don't fully understand when we say a retirement plan what we mean. And so what we try to do in this segment is to give you an understanding of what a comprehensive retirement plan should look like. Most importantly, so you understand what will be taught in the class, the 8-hour class. And that is our only goal for this radio show is to provide education that motivates you to come to this 8-hour class. Because at that class, we're going to teach you a retirement plan is going to show you every single dollar you have lined up in a spreadsheet in many different accounts, many different risk asset allocations, all different registrations lined up. If any of you are charitable, how to most effectively give to charity on an annual basis before you pass, when you pass, to teach you, map out 25 years of tax planning, like showing you what you're going to spend over the next 25 years, estimated what you're going to spend over the next 25 years in taxes. And what the plan takes you through and the class takes you through is how to construct that plan to pay the least amount of taxes, to generate the greatest amount of income in retirement so that you can retire as soon as you want, to make sure you never outlive your income, make sure you always have some protection for health care, make sure if one spouse predeceases the other spouse at 65, at 70, 75, at 80, 85, what does it mean to the surviving spouse? The estate planning piece of this, that's why attorneys are involved in the charity in the class, estate planning attorneys. That's why CPAs are involved in the charity in the teaching of the class. That a comprehensive plan maps it out after running hundreds of iterations to figure out how to mitigate all the risks and maximize everything possible. And to do that, someone has to spend 50 plus hours for each. There's no software that does that. So the purpose of our class, and there's none of you listening here. I mean, that's why I'll just say this. None of you listening here is going to be able to recreate. Come to the class. I know people come to the class thinking they're going to build their own retirement plan. You're not going to. You're not going to do this. You can build a retirement plan, but you're going to have to live on the 4% withdrawal rate, pay more taxes, have the fear as you get older, spend less because you get more anxious because it gets more confusing. Or we will teach you how to find the right teams. Wherever you're at, we'll help you learn the right questions. You'll understand what a plan looks like and all the levers that are associated with that plan and what it takes to build the plan so you know if the teams you're working with or the teams you're looking at are actually implementing these strategies so that you can retire earlier, so that you can have 6, 7, 8, 9% withdrawal rates, pay less taxes, have less fear as you age, and nothing happens to you as you guys get older and you pass your money to your next generation. Paul, that's what the classes and planning is.
It is. And I think what makes this segment of the class, showing a plan, what makes that so powerful is not only what you see, what a plan looks like, but also you see what a plan doesn't look like. Because I think, every time we do this segment after every radio show, I'm always thinking about people who are listening, always think, and this is what we hear in the class is, well, I have a plan, right? I think most people out there believe they have a plan. And until you come to the class and you see what a plan looks like, you won't really understand what you have and how that isn't a plan. So I think the power of the class is not only showing you what a plan is, but also what a plan isn't.
Paul, I got a quick idea. We don't always do this, but go to the charity's website. I'll give it to you in a minute. And go look at the sample plan webinar. It's a 30, 40-minute webinar walking you through what a real retirement plan looks like. And it'll essentially show you what you're going to be taught in the 8 hours of education in our almost master's level class. If you think you have a plan, I challenge you to go out onto the charity's website just to look at that. And then after you look at that, we ask you attend one of these 8-hour classes so we can teach you. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
Retirement Education Foundation is a fiscally sponsored program of United Charitable, a registered 501c3 public charity. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any insurance discussed in this show is backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Retirement Education Foundation is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Retirement Education Foundation. This radio show is paid for by the Retirement Education Foundation.